So Skedaddle, it's hard for me to say, but it is a unique name that you can remember. But they do humane wildlife control. So what I can explain what that means here in a minute. But this company was started in Ontario, Canada. So they're actually a Canadian franchise, and they started franchising in the U.S. in 2020. So they have 14 franchise units between U.S. and Canada now. This one is basically the way they do it. It's kind of like a pest control slash wildlife control business in one, but the way they do it is through humane methods. So they're going to come and, like, if you have rodents in your home or raccoons or bats or whatever it may be, they're going to come and basically excavate those animals, set them off into the wild again, and then patch up any areas that they're entering into your home. So I've got intimate experience with this problem. I used to own a very old brick and mortar brick house built in 1920, and seemingly every year we had bats coming at home at the same time. And I tried to hire some like random cheap, company in the area that claimed they would fix the problem. They never did. So it is a thing, like, and it isn't cheap to fix it. Like, it does require some work. So it is a nice business. Like, I'm assuming they have a pretty good business model here. In my opinion, I don't know how like scalable it is and versus other home services franchises, and maybe I'm totally off base there. I don't know as much about this particular franchise as some of the other home services spaces, but I do think you need to be kind of passionate about animals and, like, the whole mission and purpose behind how they do it. I do think that's important um, for their owners to kind of have that. Like, hey, we want to make sure we're not just going in and, like, taking care of the animals in a non-humane way. So probably not a business that's for everyone, but it is one of those things where I'm not sure I'm going to get up in my attic and remove a raccoon or bats or anything like that on my own. I'm calling somebody. So I don't know about you, Tariq, but I would not do that.
It's funny because until you said the bat thing, I totally forgot about an experience we had. So when we lived in California, we lived kind of up in the mountains. We had a 5 acre lot.
Okay.
And so it was pretty much in the mountains, and there were all sorts of critters up there. And so uh this happened multiple times, but like Bridge and I would be laying down in bed and you just hear like
Yeah.
and we kept having these like mice that were getting in between our walls and you could hear them. And it was just like the creepiest feeling. And we had a really nice house too. It was just like it makes you feel disgusting. And yeah, we had to hire a company and they were super expensive actually. It was like thousands in order
Yeah.
to get that. They had to cut a hole in the wall and da 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 da. And so then here's what happened. So they wind up putting poison, right? So they weren't doing it the humane way, but then the mice died in there, and then there was this terrible smell.
Yeah.
So they had to come back and like go in and like, oh man, it was just a whole thing.
Well, yeah, that's exactly why this business does it the way they do, because they don't want that to happen, because it just is like a short-term solution to the problem. So, yeah, they even give like a guarantee that they'll patch it up and the animal won't enter back into the premises again. So, I think this can be used for both residential and commercial applications. But yeah, I mean, some of the stats in here, it's just funny to read. Like, studies indicate that in urban areas there are anywhere from 15 to 50 raccoons per square mile. It's kind of crazy, and you don't want to mess with those when they get into your attic. So it's an interesting business. And if you look at the item 19 here, if we can scroll down some more, um, it's not bad numbers. I mean, they have a lot of different locations listed. We couldn't do the whole thing, but this is just one sample of a franchise outlet that's listed. So 2022 calendar year, they were doing just over 1 million in gross sales, which is kind of crazy. So I don't know where this was located. Okay, this was in Wisconsin, actually.
Yeah, that is wild. But I mean, given I guess if it's, probably a couple grand for just a basic, not basic service, but I guess at that point, yeah, it can add up.
Yeah, I don't think you have like a ton of equipment or like product costs or anything like that. It's just mostly labor. Um, so I mean, you look at I think that's like an EBITDA number at the bottom, which is around 20%. It's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, that is interesting. I'm looking at the way that they break it down in terms of technician labor, sales, and general labor cost. Hmm, interesting. Cool. Well,
This
for
is
any of you
one.
guys that go ahead.
Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, this is one also that they allow for. I know you have your thoughts on semi-passive ownership, but they do allow for that, and I think they have a decent plan in place to allow for that. And then a couple other benefits. They have huge territories, so their territory is 500,000 in population, which is pretty dang big compared to most franchises. Minimal competition. I would say there is competition in my opinion, but like I mentioned earlier, there's people that do it half-ass and don't really do it permanent solution. So you're kind of like the permanent solution offering in the market. And then it is
Mm,
easy to scale because you don't need a brick and mortar location, which is nice.
mm. Yeah, certainly easier to get like ramped up like
Hmm.
quickly. Cool. Anything else on it?
That's it.
Roger that. Yeah, the whole semi absentee passive thing. I got all sorts of thoughts on it. We'll save it for another time. I think for someone who's actually working in it and overseeing it and having a manager, you know, definitely possible. But I mean, there's folks out there where it's more like the expectation is I'm going to hire a manager and then the manager's just going to do everything. I'm going to be hands off. That's the recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, there's, I think, a good amount of people that do that or that's their intention.
Yeah, you need some sort of flexibility in your day-to-day job so you can allocate time to managing the manager. I also feel like you need to be pretty well capitalized compared to, like if you're hiring a manager and paying a salary like that, that's a whole additional cost you need to factor in. Anyways, yeah, we can talk more about it some other time.
Cool. If you guys want to check and see if Skedaddle is available in your area or just what franchises are available in your specific area, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory and we'll be able to see what's available in your area for free. You can set up a free 15-minute call and just kind of figure out what is out there.